Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we need to be taking a little bit of a look. Well, we actually need to combine this video and look at a supporter card and a Pokemon. So largely here, we're looking at Roxie. But you can't really look at Roxie without looking at Koffing, and you can't really look at Koffing without looking at Roxie. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing one of them there combined videos. Now, our translations here come from the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net. Though, shout out to the lovely David Hockman as always. When I send him annoying queries about translations, he is always there because he rocks, man. So, Roxie then. Discard up to 2 non-EX, non-GX Pokemon from your hand. Draw 3 cards for each Pokemon discarded in this way. This is phenomenal. Now, to be clear, this is phenomenal if you have the Pokemon in your hand and you're willing to discard them. Remember, it's not enough to just have a couple of Pokemon in your hand. You've got to actually be willing to discard them, or else it's going to be kind of a waste of time. And this should remind a bunch of you of Roller Skater. Now, Roller Skater is a card we looked at that's been revealed recently. It's actually going to be coming out in the same set, that being Cosmic Eclipse. And Roller Skater here, discard a card from your hand, draw 2. If you discarded an energy, draw 4. And I've talked a lot in the Pokemon trading card game about the fact that drawing 4 is phenomenal. We saw that Sophocles allowed you to draw 4 cards, but only if you discarded 2 cards from your hand. Now, clearly, Sophocles, you can discard 2 Pokemon and draw 4 cards. Here, you can discard 2 Pokemon and draw 6. That's quite a lot better. And then we've got one of the Battle Chatelaine ladies that lets you do a bit of the old drawing. It's Evelyn. It lets you draw 4 cards, but only if your opponent's active is a Stage 1 Pokemon. Drawing 4 is not a given. Anytime we draw 4, there's a significant downside. Now, we have a supporter card that can draw 3. That's how. Got a reprint in Celestial Storm. How is that going to survive the rotation? Because of the Celestial Storm reprint. One day I'm going to be able to talk about how without making some kind of pun. Today is not that day. So look, if you only discard 1 Pokemon from your hand, then all of a sudden it's not really good enough. Because you're basically getting a how, but you're discarding a card from your hand, so it's a bit like meh. But if you can discard 2, you're drawing 6. Drawing 6 is over the top phenomenal. Drawing 6 is Cynthia, except Cynthia you lose all the cards in your hand, you got to shuffle them into your deck. Or it's kind of like a Professor Sycamore, whereby you have to discard your entire hand, but then you are allowed to draw 7 in its place. The thing is, shuffling hand into your deck or discarding is rarely a good thing. Because the problem is that you might be... Well, let's say you're playing a Stage 2 deck. Let's say it's something like... let's just use Mamoswine, because I love him. You need the rare candy, and you need the Mamoswine, although somewhat depressingly, there's no legal Mamoswine after rotation. The Crimson Invasion was the last legal Mamoswine. Boo! So what you really want to do is have a rare candy in hand and then draw cards. That's why so many people play Lily, even in a format with Cynthia, because Lily draws until you've got 6 cards in your hand, so you can save a rare candy and then hopefully be drawing 3, 4, 5 cards, looking for the Stage 2. And that's what's so good about Roxie here. A flat draw 6, without having to discard any cards that you don't want to, is phenomenal. Keeping that rare candy, discarding a couple of Pokemon you don't need, and then drawing 6 is oftentimes going to get you that Stage 2. It's really, really strong. Now, here's the downside. You've got to actually discard those 2 Pokemon. Now, sometimes it's going to be fine. This is a great, great use for a card like Lureball. Now, it's a little bit awkward and a little bit flippy, but bearing in mind our Pokemon search post-rotation is not good. Flip 3 coins for each head, put an evolution Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. So you can flip a couple of heads, there's your Pokemon, discard them away. There's plenty of other cards we're going to have, like Netball for instance, but that only searches a basic grass Pokemon, so if you're not playing a grass deck, it's not going to be any good. We've got options, And to be honest, the cards we're losing, it doesn't really matter anyway, because Ultra Ball discarded 2 cards from your hands. That was never going to combo well with Roxie. And Nest Ball puts a Pokemon directly on your bench, which means it can't combo with Roxie. So we're alright in that regard. And I would be remiss at this point if I didn't point out that Zoroark from Team Up, or if you go into Expanded, you've got Vespiquen and Flareon, they do more damage depending on how many Pokemon are in your discard pile. And I feel like we've had a bunch of cards recently that really help out these kind of decks, but here's another one. Because now, not only are you discarding Pokemon so that you can do extra damage, but you're drawing as well. And in those decks, you're going to have a whole bunch of extra Pokemon that you're basically playing just to discard them. This is phenomenal draw, but it's not for every deck. You've got to be playing enough Pokemon that you can reliably have 2 in your hand, and you've got to be willing to get rid of them. Because you don't always want to get rid of those Pokemon. You don't want to be in a situation where you've got that Macargo ready to evolve up, but if you evolve it up, you're drawing 3 fewer cards with Roxie. That's going to be kind of awkward. And of course, if you're playing an overly EX or GX heavy deck, you can't discard them to get the draw. That's going to be awkward. But hey, here's one Pokemon you will want to discard with Roxie. It's Koffing. Koffing, I mean, look, there's nothing great about Koffing, right? What we got? Psychic, colorless energy, 10 damage plus poison. No, who cares? But the ability here, once during your turn, if this card was discarded using Roxie, put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. Well, that's pretty gosh darn good as a bit of spreading. That's crazy good as spreading. Now, bearing in mind that Tapu Koko did 2 to all of your opponent's Pokemon, and that was for a double colorless energy, and it was your attack for the turn, this is just 1 damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon. And the fact that it's a damage counter is absolutely huge, because Mew from Unbroken Bonds prevents damage by attacks. This is a damage counter from an ability. Now, incidentally, it's being rotated out, so you can't actually use it in Standard, but we do have the Machoke in Guardians Rising, which would block this, because the Machoke from Guardians Rising blocks all damage counters from attacks and abilities, as well as damage from attacks. We do still have the Stadium Sky Pillar, but unfortunately that only protects from attacks, and it does protect from damage counters, but only from attacks. Sky Pillar won't save you here. So this damage is getting through. And here's the weird thing. This is why it's huge. We don't generally have direct damage in the Pokemon trading card game. Not very much. I mean, the most we tend to see is stuff like Decidueye, but Decidueye is an ability on a stage 2, so we can allow it. Here, especially if you're using Lure Ball to recover them, you can be doing a lot of extra damage. In a format where we're losing Choice Band, and we're losing Professor Kukui, this is pretty much the best option that we've got for doing what I like to term cheeky damage. And cheeky damage is quite big in a bunch of other games. It's not something that's that huge in the Pokemon trading card game. And this is big. I mean, if you play Lieutenant Surge's strategy, then all of a sudden you can be playing 2 Roxie and dropping 4 damage counters on all of your opponent's Pokemon. That's enough to KO a Ditto Prism Star. And then, of course, this might be a good time to mention Pheromosa GX, which is surviving the rotation because of the promo and all that jazz. 1 grass energy, 30 damage, and if you go first, you can use it on your first turn. Now, it's not going to be often that on your first turn you're able to play a Lieutenant Surge and play a couple of Roxies and attack with Pheromosa, but there will be games where it gets pulled off. Far more likely, you'll just do, say, 20 with Roxie and hit with Pheromosa, except that might be enough to get some KOs on a bunch of Pokemon. Of course, Pheromosa is a 2-prize Pokemon with a terrible weakness, so maybe it's not ideal, but you get the point here. Annoyingly, that is a proper counter-tech Pokemon, whatever you want to call it, that's basically just played for the odd matchup, but you can't discard it with Roxie and draw the extra cards because it is a GX Pokemon, which is very sad. But when we put these two cards together, what we have is a really genuinely good draw engine and about the best cheeky damage that we've seen in quite some time, to be honest with you. This isn't Hypnotoxic Laser Burbank City Gym, although, and I'm sure a bunch of you do know, but I'm sure there's a few out there that don't, Roxie is the Burbank City Gym leader, and this is probably the best non-attack damage we've had since Hypnotoxic Laser Burbank City Gym. I know that Decidueye was great ability damage, and I am in no way, shape or form dissing it as ability damage, but it was on a stage 2. I suppose with Forest of Giant Plants before it got banned, we could say that that was better. But if Roxie works, when it works properly, you're drawing 6 cards and doing 2 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon, and you're doing damage which isn't blocked by something like Mew, or in fact really anything that's widely played at the moment. This is an over-the-top phenomenal combo, which I think a bunch of people are going to really take advantage of it. I can't really score the cards separately, but they're 5 Wossie cards. And I know I've already given 5 Wossie to 2 other cards today. I'm sorry. Incidentally, though, I'm really going for it with the videos today to try and bring you all the news as up to date as I can. Please make sure you check out the other videos. They're linked in the description, but there'll also be little thumbnails you can click at the end of the video to take you straight there. Please do, because it's been a very busy day over at PTCGRadio Towers. Though I suppose of all the Wossie plays I do, I should probably rename it Wossie Towers. We'll have a think about that. But the point I'm making here very simply is that we have a pair of phenomenal cards which are going to do absolutely wonderfully in tournament play. You are going to see a lot of them, and people are going to get KOs they shouldn't get because of Koffing while having... I mean, look, when it works, it's the best draw in the game. When you can discard 2 Koffing, it's better than Cynthia, better than Lily. It is the best draw. One of the biggest issues is going to be getting Koffing in your hand, but if you build your deck around making it work, and you take advantage of stuff like Lurball, although it is flippy, it will work. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm overly excited about these cards, but I'd like to know if you're overly excited about these cards. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, and check out the other videos I've uploaded today. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.